Hi, good night, everyone. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe, and I am live to take your immigration questions. So go ahead and start putting your questions in the comments right now so that I can go ahead and answer your immigration questions. So while your questions come in, I want to formally introduce myself to those of you who don't know me. I am U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I help clients to get their green cards and status in the United States. So if you need assistance with becoming a green card holder or gaining status in the United States, fixing your immigration status, then I am the person that you should talk to. What you can do is you can put your questions in the comments if you have questions about that right now, or you can also go to the link in my bio. It will take you to the website where you can schedule a consultation with a scheduling coordinator. You have up until 11 p.m. tonight to speak to the scheduling coordinator and to get on my schedule. Hi, Believer Scrum. It's nice to see you. Go ahead, put your questions in the comments because that's why I'm here. Why not take advantage of a U.S. immigration attorney being here live to take your questions? Also, I want you to know that I'm here live every single day with very few exceptions. So if you have a question or you're gonna have a question in the future, go ahead and follow me and you'll get notice when I go live so you can hop on with me and ask your questions. You can go ahead and no matter when I'm talking, while I'm talking, put your questions in the comments. Put your question in the question box as well, the Q&A box. I found that those who have been sending questions to me, and if it doesn't come across through the comments, then you can definitely do it through the Q&A option. And I found that to be very successful, where I can see the questions that are hard to come across. So go ahead, put your questions in the comments. I want to hear from you. That's why I'm here. I'm here to prioritize your immigration questions. So I usually come with a topic to talk about while your questions come in. And I want to talk about the topic of fixing your immigration status. So I came in the USA with B2 visa, applied for asylum, still no interview. So yes, unfortunately, the asylum process is very backed up, and so it could be years. But what I suggest you do is make sure you contact the USCIS, or if you have an attorney, check in with the attorney, state your concerns, and check upon your case to make sure there's nothing that's pending on your end. So keep your questions coming. That's why I'm here. I'm here to answer your immigration questions. So I want to apply for my US visa. So if you're applying for a US visitor's visa, then you will need to you'll need to show strong ties to your home country. What I mean is you have to show that you have strong commitments that will make you return after temporarily visiting the United States, and the officer that's evaluating your application has to be convinced of that. So for example, you show property, show that you have strong family ties, show that you have a good job, or that you're currently in a program that you can't, it's too good to give up. Things like that. When I say program, like an educational program. So hi there, Denisha, or Denish, yeah, Denisha. Believer Scrum, what are the documents a person needs to bring on a marriage green card interview? So bring your pictures, bring any other updated evidence that you continue to live together as a bona fide couple. Make sure that you prep together. That is the most important part as well, because they're going to ask you questions about your what you know about each other, birthdays, anniversary. What did you do for your anniversary? Who was at your wedding? Who are your in-laws? What are the names? What's the color of your curtain in the living room? What's the color of the curtain in the bedroom? If they separate you, they will ask you one question, your spouse one question, and then see if it's consistent. Who wakes up first? What time does your spouse go to work? What do they do? So they could even pull out your driver's license and ask to look at your driver's license. And if it has a different address, you're going to have a lot of explaining to do. So these are things, but also bring your pictures, bring evidence of joint bank account that continues to be active. Make sure you carry possible affidavits if you're short on evidence, additional affidavits stating that your marriage is real from friends and family. What if, so can you refer me to any lawyer in Jamaica to get back visa? It was canceled. So Nareen, you would have to deal with a U.S. immigration attorney, and I'm a U.S. immigration attorney. If you'd like to schedule a consultation, always you can give me a call, schedule a consultation. My number is on my videos. What if you're just a regular person and want to migrate with your family? Well, no, that's okay. You still have to qualify in some way. And if you do, you qualify through a family member, like a spouse? Do you qualify through employment by any chance? And so that's what it would come down to. That's the first question that we have to ask. How are you going to do this? And are you going to do this through a family member, or through employment, or through even the diversity lottery? That's one way that if you and your families don't have any tie, you and your family, you don't have any ties in the U.S., you can enter the diversity lottery. It's like the lottery for the green card. You can sign up. It opens up around late October, I believe, and then they announce if you've been selected, if your number has been selected, and then you have a year to get into the country or get that visa. What if you're just, so I answered that. Okay, I'm working at the same places for 10 years now. So great. Yeah, that can count. Denisha Hibbert, how do I gain access to a work permit and eventually applying for asylum? So when you're applying for asylum, usually you do that at the border, or if you're already in the country, then you go ahead and apply affirmatively. And to get a work permit, you'd have to be applying for asylum, for example, or some sort of other immigration benefit that allows you to get a green card at the same time. So if a person has all documents and fails questions, what will happen? So if you're stating it that way and you fail the questions, then it could be that the denial could follow, but it's hard to tell in your case. If you received a denial, what did the officer say? Did the officer make you sign any documents at the interview? Believer scrum, that's where it gets complex, and you need to consult with an attorney to make sure that the whatever happened can be corrected. And you're always free to give me a call at 561-405-4889 to schedule a consultation. Also go to the link in my bio. It will take you to the website where you can get my contact information. If I'm married and my husband is a citizen for the US and he did not put it for, can I still go? So if I'm married and my husband is a citizen and he did not, so if he didn't file for you, no, it's not automatic. Your spouse had to mistreat you, and that's a question I would ask. I find that in many relationships where the spouse was a citizen, was in a good position, and then refused to make sure you were secure as the spouse, there is some sort of abuse or mistreatment going on. And so the first thing I would do is, Lynn, is schedule a consultation. This is my area of focus. And we can determine whether you qualify for this type of green card and then prepare you for the application process. What do I need to do for a fiancé visa? So your fiancé has to be a U.S. citizen, and then they would file the paperwork for you. Denisha, let's see. So what is the process like? So if you're applying affirmatively, that means you're submitting your own asylum application. You would go through the process. After a while, you would be able to apply for a work permit. And then eventually you'd be scheduled for an interview where your asylum application would be decided. Okay, so let's see. Came in with a B2, applied for asylum, still no interview, won DV lottery in 2021, can adjust. So at this time, if you overstayed and you are not in you must be in status to be able to adjust status. And so that's where the sticking point is in terms of the diversity lottery. So I'm in Jamaica. I want to work overseas. My parents are in the US already. So 876, Aikens, the fact that your parents are in the US, if they are US citizens or permanent residents, that could be a stepping stone for you to come to the United States as well. But it depends. So if it depends on your age, your marital status to determine what the process would be. Charlon, can a green card holder who is not living permanently in the U.S. sponsor her child and family? So my question is, do you have, as a green card holder, do they have permission to be living outside of the United States? Because you would have to, the green card holder would have to show that they have domicile. So in some cases, green card holder is able to get a re-entry permit and stay outside of the United States for a few years. And in that case, they could possibly file the papers at the same time. However, if they are outside of the United States for more than a year, then it could be presumed that they gave up their green card. So that part would have to be straightened out first. Wind Blow 91 came in US with B2, applied for asylum, still no interview. Okay, so I answered that. So Miss Ting 4, I don't remember your question. I 730 got approved, sent to NVC. What's next? So if it's sent to the, I think you're talking about the I-130. If it got approved, then it's going to be sent to the embassy, and it depends on who's sponsoring you. But if you do need an immigrant visa number, you're going to have to wait for an immigrant visa number to become available. Then they'll start preparing your application for an interview. I'm out of status but married to a 10-year green card holder. How long before he can file for me? So your green card holder spouse can file for you at any time, but keep in mind, as a green card holder and with you being out of status, Manifa, you would have to go through an additional process. It's called the waiver process. So basically, if you've overstayed by over a year, then if you just leave the country to finish the green card process, then you'll be barred. You will not be allowed to come back to the US or get any other type of visa or green card. So what you would need to do is apply for a waiver, because you wouldn't qualify for the adjustment of status process. That means applying for the green card here in the US. So what you'd have to do is apply based on your spouse's extreme hardships. Then once that's approved, then you can, when the interview time comes, book a ticket, go to your country, attend the interview, and then that 10-year bar will not be applied to you. Then what would happen is about 2 weeks later, you'll get the immigrant visa and you could return as a permanent resident. Now, if your spouse became a US citizen, then that would change the game for you. So it depends on now whether or not you pursue the waiver or wait for your spouse to become a US citizen. Depends on how long your spouse has. If your spouse has 4 years until they become a US citizen, then maybe you should pursue the waiver process, which could take 2 to 3 years. So Miss Ting 4, it's the diversity visa lottery, and it's basically a lottery for the green card. If you go to the Department of State website, just put in diversity lottery and you can read up more about it and when to sign up, what the website is. Bookmark that website, and on a specific day, they usually announce on the website when that will open up. You can go and sign up for it. Wind Blow 91 came in the US. So I answered that. How long does it take for a person to get a green card through employment? It depends on what type of employment you're applying for. I mean, what type of employment-based green card you're applying for. There's so many. I am the citizen. My fiance is in Morocco. So if you're the US citizen, then you will have to file the relevant forms along with the evidence to file for your fiance. Keep in mind that you must show that you have met your fiance in the past 2 years in person. That's one of the requirements, unless you can show that there's some kind of cultural tradition that doesn't allow that, or that you have some kind of exceptional hardships, like, for example, warfare in the country or something, which that's not happening in Morocco. but something exceptional that has prevented you from seeing your fiance. So if a person files for VAWA, will the person show up for an interview? So Believer Scrum, it's extremely confidential, and once you apply for VAWA, they do not contact the U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident spouse or parent. They just process the evidence that you have provided. Believer Scrum, if you are in that situation, this is what I do. So give me a call, schedule a consultation, and we can talk more about what your situation is and whether we can rectify your situation through this process. So no, he don't treat me. I'm just asking. Okay. Geeta Singh, my I-130 got approved. What's next? I answered that. I'm out of status but married, so I answered that. What is the process like applying for a green card as an LPR for a child under 21? So what you do is apply for the forms. If you get all being well, it gets approved. It gets sent to the National Visa Center. Right now, there's no wait time for no immigrant visa wait time. And so it's a good time to be a child under 21 of a legal permanent resident. The process would take about 2 years based on now keep in mind that could always change, but the processing time would be about a 2-year long process. Now, if your child is under 18 here in the United States, as long as they're under 18, they don't accrue unlawful presence, and they would be able to attend the interview because if they're out of status in the U.S., then they wouldn't qualify for adjustment of status, but they could still go to the embassy in their home country as long as they're under 18 and will not, the unlawful presence or overstay will not be held against them. I'm single, one child. So I'm single, one child, I'm 24, my father just become citizen, mother is a green card holder. So both would be able to apply for you. At this time, you're 24, so you would be the adult son, or you'd be the adult son over 21. And in both cases, that process is taking about 5 to 6 years, or for the green card holder, or ironically 6 to 7 for the U.S. citizen. And you would be able to bring your child with you. No, it's okay. So the I-730 through asylum. So at this point, I'm not sure what the processing time is. It really depends on the embassy and what where you're being processed. So you will need to check on your case. So after 5 years, he can file for me. So yes, so if as a U.S. citizen, he turns into a U.S. citizen, if he just became a green card holder, Monifa, he can file for you after he becomes a U.S. citizen, which could be in 5 years. Got an RFE after filing I-485. My wife won't release her doc and threatens not to attend the interview. T-Buzz, give me a call, schedule a consultation. Because in this case where your wife is holding on to her document, she's threatening not to attend the interview, this is the scenario that I always talk about. It's where the spouse is using your immigration status against you, and there is a way to do it on your own, even when you have a current I-485 pending. And if you, it can be dangerous when your spouse is taking that stance. I don't know what your situation is. I don't know what your facts are. But based on my experience, I have seen it time and time again where the spouse eventually does go to the interview and causes basically sabotages the immigrant spouse, or they don't show up and they get a denial as well. So if you're in a situation where that spouse is really mistreating you and using your status against you, it's time to look at other options. You can always call 561-405-4889 and schedule a consultation. Believer Scrum, most people are afraid to file for VAWA because they don't have good evidence to show. Believer Scrum, I'm so glad that you brought this up, because that's what I'm trying to show everyone, is that the evidence, it doesn't require things like police reports or in cases where it's like on videotape. what is required is any believable evidence. And any believable evidence could be your credible statement, a declaration. It could be your friends and families also putting declarations together. It could be the statement of a psychologist who lays out why what you went through is abusive. Because even physical and even verbal, mental, emotional, financial abuse also counts. So that person doesn't ever have to hit you, but you could have endured abuse in other forms, and that also qualifies you. So keep that in mind, Believer Scrum. Anybody who's going through this and you're experiencing verbal, emotional, physical does count, but it's not necessary. We all know that it's difficult, if not impossible, to call the police for verbal abuse or emotional abuse. Most people are not going to report that to the police. And so the officers that are evaluating your case will understand that, but they just have to understand that your situation, you have credible evidence, which we can look at. So for example, text messages. It could be your detailed statement that is very consistent. So give me a call. Let's talk about it. Can a sibling apply for another sibling who is married? Yes, absolutely. I have applied for citizenship on June 1st when they're going to send the receipt number. So it depends, Mariam, Barry, it depends. I usually do online and I get it right away. But if you did it by paper, then, give it a few weeks. Can my husband put in for me and my kids even if he's not the father? Yes, so if your kids are under 18 and you got married to him and he's a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, then he can file for the kids as stepchildren. Now, how you go about it depends on whether he's a U.S. citizen or a green card holder. I went for fingerprints on February 2019 and I still haven't heard from the NVC about my I-601. So unfortunately, some of them are taking long. If he can do it at the same time for my kids. So yes. So if your kids are qualified stepchildren, he can apply for them at the same time, even if you don't have your papers. Lynn, now the best thing to do is schedule a consultation to make sure that you qualify. The information I'm giving you here tonight is general information. Hopefully it's helpful. But to provide you more accurate, specific legal advice, it's always best to get a consultation, especially before you start the process. Because once you start the process, if you make a mistake or if you do something where you don't qualify, it can spell trouble for your application in the future. So schedule a consultation. I can definitely help you further. But Lynn, as long as your kids qualify as stepchildren, that means that your spouse married you while the kids were under 18. They could qualify to be sponsored by your spouse, even separately from you. So keep your questions coming. These are all great questions so far. So keep your questions coming. Asked by Darren New, I'm a U.S. citizen. Can I apply for my brothers? You can. Keep in mind that it is taking at minimum 14 years, depending on which country you're in. In Mexico, it's taking as long as 22 years. Lynn, you are welcome. So you can, as a U.S. citizen, but apply for your siblings, but just keep in mind that it is a very long process. If it's the only way your siblings are going to qualify, then go for it. But know that you'll be in it for a long time. How can you expand my business to the U.S.? I live in Trinidad. So when you move your business to the United States, that's where the investing comes in. And it depends on what kind of business you have and in order to advise you how to get started on that business. But a part of that is when you are in the process of expanding a business in the United States, getting established here, getting a place, for example, leasing a place, getting a bank account, getting an ITIN number to run your business. Then what the next step at the same time that you're doing this, you can apply for the E2 investor visa. That would help you to actually have the right to run your business and live and work in the United States at the same time. I have applied for my 16-year-old daughter. How long will it take for them to approve? So while I can't tell you specific timelines, it depends. And I don't know where your 16-year-old daughter is. I would say prepare for as long as 2 years. As a legal permanent resident, no. If you do become a U.S. citizen, your 16-year-old daughter would then become the child of a U.S. citizen, and that you could look at possibly as little as 9 months to as long as 18 months to adjust status in the United States. So do you know when the registration for Haiti TPS will be announced, please? So yes, I believe it has been announced. So it is going to open up. If it's not open yet, just check on the uscis.gov website. They provide you updates to go for Haitian TPS in the search bar and you'll see. But it has been announced that they're Haitian. Anybody who is in the country as of May 21st can get TPS. How much time takes the USCIS to approve the I-360 application as a religious worker at that moment? So it depends on where it's processing your application. Go to the USCIS website and look at the case processing times. What if the business is online, example, drop shipping? What will I have to do then? So in that case, and it really depends, I don't want to provide any specific advice on here. But if it's an online business, what you will need to show is that you have to run that business in the United States. What are your goals in the United States to run that business? Why do you have to run it here? What will you need? What resources will you be using in the United States to run that business? Because a part of the requirement is to show that you're actively running the business in the United States. And that is your purpose for the need to live and work in the United States. So Shanice, give me a call, schedule a consultation, and we can get more into the nitty-gritty. Snow Tommy, my partner's daughter is a U.S. citizen and she is 15. How old should she be to file for her father? 21. So she has to be 21 and up. Ellie Chong, hi, I want to file for the fiance visa, but my fiance interview for visa in Haiti is in 12 months. Should I file before he gets the visa interview in Haiti? So Ellie, that's a strategic decision. If you do file for the fiance visa for your spouse, know that the fiance visa in itself is taking over 12 months. And so if it's pending while your spouse is also trying to, your fiance is trying to get a visa, visitor's visa, it could possibly affect the approval. So you really have to decide what is best for you. Thanks Shanice for sharing the live, and I'm looking forward to talking with you more. That's exciting if you're thinking about expanding your business in the United States. And thanks for following. So my dad received letters saying that they review by US is what that say. So I'm not sure. Can you clarify? Ellie Chung, you're welcome. Can you clarify, Amanda? I don't think it came across very clearly to me. Can you just rephrase so I can understand your question better? So keep your questions coming. I am here to answer your immigration questions, and I'm here every day. So with very few exceptions. So if you have a question, or if you know you're gonna have a question in the future, go ahead and put your questions in the comments, and then I will go ahead and answer your question as soon as I see you hop on with me. Would they flag me for filing for the new woman? Snow Tommy, thank you very much for answering. You are welcome. So Fire Links, would that flag me filing for the new woman? So if you're talking about if you filed for someone and then you jump to filing for someone else, that could possibly be an issue. So you're waiting for an appointment. Okay, that's good. That's further in the process than many people are. I'm a medical healthcare assistant. I would like to work in the US. So it depends on who your employer is. Are they willing to sponsor you? What is your status in the United States? How long does it take to get my green card? It depends really on who is applying for you. Is it a family member? Is it an employer? It all depends. So my dad received letters saying that they reviewed this case by USCIS. What do they mean? So it depends, Amanda, on what kind of case were they reviewing. That would be the first thing. Were they reviewing, and what was the result in the letter? Did they deny it, or did they just say they're currently reviewing the application? Now, sometimes you get a receipt notice, and that receipt notice is just evidence that they've received it and they're currently processing your case. But I don't know what your document is. Is it an I-797C notice of action? If it's that, then it could be something like that. But it really depends on what kind of case is pending for your dad and where he's in the process and what's going on. What are the facts? So thank you everyone for showing up. These were great questions. I'm here every single day. So keep on, follow me. And as soon as you see me go live, you can hop on too and ask your questions right away. If you really don't feel comfortable with asking your question here, you know where I am. Just go to any one of my videos. You'll see my phone number. You can go to the link in my bio and it will take you to the website. There is a scheduling coordinator who is available up until 11 o'clock tonight to take your calls and schedule your consultation. So if you're free, and I know many of you are free in the night when you're not working, you can call right now and schedule your consultation, confirm your appointment. If you are even up at 3 in the morning, there is always an after hours receptionist who is answering calls to take your questions. To take your name, your number, and then the scheduling coordinator will get back to you on the next business day. So in the meantime, have a good night, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow.